What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a deck that I've been wanting to do for a little while, and that is a deck centered around Ho-Oh GX with Volcanion and Kiawe, who, I mean, I've been wanting to use this card for a while, and this deck is just the perfect opportunity to use that. But before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, this is going to be absolutely, completely, and utterly unrelated to Pokemon, but I am a gigantic sports fan, and I'm a gigantic sports fan in the US, so college football season is getting underway and things are really starting to heat up in terms of like, I guess, rivalries, fans, and then also MLB season is in full swing. We're sort of winding down to getting towards the playoffs, so basically sports fever is pretty insane, and also the NFL season is starting as well, so sports fever, sorry, is pretty insane here. And so it got me thinking, for my sports fans out there, if you could watch only one sports game for the entirety of 1 year, 365 or 66 days, depending on whether or not it's a leap year, you could only watch a single sports game, what would it be? Now, I say sports just because, I mean, I know that, well, I just want to encompass everything, and I kind of want to try to include, like, our Australian, European viewers, all those guys, because, I mean, sports aren't just big in the US. Sports are big everywhere, just not the same sports necessarily. Well, for example, like soccer. Soccer is not big in the US at all. In fact, I can almost guarantee that any given person in the US could not name more than 2 people on the US soccer team unless they were like an avid soccer fan. But if you had to ask me what is the one game, if I had to just watch nothing else but one game all year, what would it be? I would say it would be the Duke versus UNC NCAA basketball game. Preferably, you know what, I'd say regular season, because, I mean, they really only, well, I guess the end of the season meeting, there we go. The end of the season meeting between Duke and UNC for NCAA basketball would be the one game that I would want to watch, just because, I mean, if I had to pick the sports team that I'm probably the biggest fan of, it would be Duke basketball. I'm a Dookie, so yeah, you can go ahead and make fun of that if you will, but I love Duke. I'm a huge, gigantic fan of that. I always get super hyped up whenever that game is, and honestly, if I was just able to watch that one game, I could go without the Super Bowl, I could go without the World Series, I could go without all those. As long as I could watch that one game, I would be happy. So yeah, let me know what one sports game all year you would watch if you could only pick one in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But anyway, onto the deck. I'm going to try to make this a little bit shorter because that's kind of what I'm going towards. Well, make the deck profile a little bit shorter than usual because that's kind of what I'm going towards as my classes are really picking up and I'm learning more information in a week than I did during an entire semester of undergrad. But basically this deck is centered around Volcanion, obviously, because, I mean, Volcanion's just a great archetype that has had success. I mean, it hasn't necessarily won, I mean, it hasn't reached the apex. Yes, it has won a couple regionals here and there, but, like, it hasn't won, well, did it win an internationals? I know Raul Reddy, I think, did. But, okay, so Volcanion has always been, like, near the top, but has never peaked at Worlds or anything like that. But it's still just a deck that everybody needs to watch out for, especially in this post-format rotation. It's just stronger, in my opinion. So what we have is a 3-3 of Volcanion and Volcanion-EX, and then we also have Ho-Oh GX. A couple copies of that because of Phoenix Burn. 180 damage. This Pokemon can't use Phoenix Burn on the next turn. But basically what Volcanion struggled with was Pokemon with Fighting Fury Belt because, I mean, it gets energy on the board just fine, it hits for some solid damage just fine, but it just fails to get those big knockouts, especially on, like, the Stage 1, Stage 2 GXs that are in the meta right now, because Volcanic Heat, even with, well, you need, like, 4 Steam-Ups in order to hit for 250, 3 Steam-Ups to hit for 220, and a lot of Pokemon just avoid those KOs, especially with Skyfield no longer in the format. Volcanion has trouble getting multiple Volcanion on the field, so Ho-Oh comes in with Phoenix Burn. All it needs is just 2 Steam-Ups and a Fighting Fury Belt to hit for 250 damage, and that just works out amazingly for this deck. And then also Eternal Flame GX. Put 3 in any combination of Fire Pokemon GX or Fire Pokemon EX from your discard pile onto your bench. That's a way of refilling your bench with Volcanions if they get knocked out late game or you discard them late game or something like that. And then also, one thing that this deck really struggled with was its water weakness. Ho-Oh is lightning weak, so just kind of type weakness, able to help that out a little bit, just have a big attacker, all that good stuff. And then we, of course, we have a one Turtonator for like Nitro Tank, Shell Trap, and Bright Flame, just kind of a just pseudo Ho-Oh to a lesser extent, but it can be used for energy acceleration and attacking. 3-4 Baby Volk and Volcanion EX. 3 Tapu Lele in order to just be able to get our supporters out, and then also you can attach to Lele with Manual or Max Elixir. 1-1 of Staryu and Starmie in order to be able to recur water energy from, not water energy, in order to be able to recur fire energy from the discard pile. Definitely use this Staryu, by the way, because of that free retreat, even though it does only have 40 HP. Definitely needs the free retreat. As for the items, 1-1 of Switch and Escape Rope, just because, I mean, all of your stuff has pretty annoying retreat costs. I mean, you got 2, you got 3, you got 2. Lele only has 1, and Starmie only has 1, but those are still annoying because you had to attach them. And then, of course, Volcanion EX has 3, and then we have 2 Pokemon that also have this Pokemon cannot use such, and basically we have 2 Pokemon that if you use their big attack, they cannot attack on the next turn, so this is a way of resetting that. We are running 2 Field Blowers because Garbotoxin completely shuts this deck down, and Choice Band gives us a little bit of problems. Max Elixir helps us get energy onto the field. Rescue Stretcher lets us recur Pokemon because we do like having energy in the discard pile due to Power Heater and Nitro Tank GX as well as Starmie, so we have plenty of ways of energy recursion. 4 Ultra Ball Guaranteed gets us what we want when we want. 3 Brooklet Hill as the stadium of choice in this deck because it helps us search out, well, 5 very integral Pokemon in this deck, 4 copies of Volcanion and Staryu, just ways of not playing items so you don't auto-lose to Gardevoir, but also just searches out stuff early game. Then as the supporters, running a 4-3-2 line of Sycamore N and Guzma, just because, I mean, I originally had 4-4-3, but then I needed space for 2 Kiawe, so I decided to get rid of 1 Guzma and 1 N, and honestly it's been working out really well for me. And then I'm also using Acerola just to kind of let something take a big hit and then pick it right back up. Only 1 copies isn't the most consistent, but it works out decently well. 3 Fighting Fury Belt to give longevity to all of our basic Pokemon attackers, because that's the only attackers in this deck. 3 Float Stone because, again, the annoying retreat cost, and 11 Fire Energy, so statistically speaking, we should be able to hit Max Elixir whenever we play it. And yeah, I actually made this a lot longer than I wanted it to be, so let's go ahead and find a battle, or match, or whatever. Alrighty, we have found one against Chillis17 with, if that's not a Gardevoir deck, I don't know what is. And by Gardevoir, I mean Gardevoir GX. We do win the coin flip, meaning we will get to go first, so that is actually really nice. And I start off with some really solid stuff. I'll be able to get a Volcanion EX, and a Ho-Oh down. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to start with that. Probably going to Ultra Ball for a Lele. Actually, I start with a Kiawe. I might just... See, do I want to play anything out, or do I just want a Kiawe? I mean, I know I wanted to end my first turn with a Kiawe, but... See, this is tricky, so I'm going to go ahead and Fighting Fury about my Volcanion, and then, screw it, I'm just going to Kiawe. There's only 9 energy in my deck, so I have a couple prized. And, yeah, I mean, turn 1, I have a Ho-Oh GX completely powered up. With 2 Steam Ups, I should be able to knock out Gardevoir GX, I think. But, yeah, if I can get a couple... Okay, so there goes the Fighting Fury Belt, so now I need 2 Steam Ups to knock out the Remoraid, but if I can get a couple energy, like if I can draw into 3 energy somehow, then I should be able to knock out this Remoraid turn 1 and actually be in a phenomenal position, because if I can outspeed my opponent's Gardevoirs, I think I will be just fine, but once they get set up, I'm going to have a very, very, very difficult time trying to keep up. So my opponent does just grab a Ralts and then has to Sycamore, so the fact that my opponent wasn't able to bridge it turn 1 is really phenomenal for me. So, yeah, I mean, I'm chilling right now. Got a Ho-Oh completely powered up, I got a Volcanion EX, I got a Volcanion in the active, like, I'm just good to go. I get a Guzma, Okay, so I could go ahead and knock out the Ralts. But I think at this point I want to get as much setup as I possibly can. I mean, see, it was tricky because, like, I could have just went ahead and Guzma, knock out the Ralts, and then bank, and then, like, retreat out Ho-Oh, which, not gonna lie, that might have been the play. But at this point, I just want to get set up as much as possible, and I actually completely whiff on any fire energy. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the downsides of using Kiawe first turn, is you whiff energy. Is you can, well, your deck all of a sudden has a lot less energy in it, so you don't have it when you need it for steam ups and power heaters. So, my opponent does get double evolution this turn. Ah, man, I really feel like I missed an opportunity. Looking back on it, if I knew I wasn't going to draw into anything, into any energy, then I would have just Guzma'd and knocked out the Ralts with my Ho-Oh. But I was under the impression that I'd draw 2 energy, so, I mean, again, like, I could have gone the safer route and just knocked out the Ralts, which hindsight 2020 was the play, but I figured that I was going to be okay. And I mean, at least this way I'm set up better, question mark? I don't know, like, still, like, I'm looking back on that on my turn, and the play was 100% to Guzma. But at the time, I was thinking, okay, I can either just go hyper aggressive with Guzma, or I can try to play a little more conservative, get a better setup, and go from there. And I decided for once to go the more conservative route, and it ended up biting me. So I mean, that's just kind of the luck of the draw sometimes. Like, if I had drawn a couple energy, then I would have been in a perfect position, because then I would have gotten to power up a couple Volcanion as well, in addition to my baby Volcanion while taking a knockout, and like, that would have been ideal. But because I whiffed on that energy, my opponent was able to Abyssal Hand, draw some stuff, and yeah, now my opponent is in a fantastic position. So now that I have the 2... Okay, so now that I have now that my opponent has 2 items on board, or 2 tools on board, I'm going to go ahead and Field Blower, and then I'm going to Steam Up right here, because, I mean, okay, I can either draw into a Starmie, or I can draw into another energy to be able to attack, and hopefully I'll get one of those. And I do. Unfortunately, I don't get the Starmie, which would have allowed me to knock out the... well, not quite knock out the Octillery. But either way, let's go ahead and see if we can Max Elixir, which we do. Which, I mean, that's perfect. And then I can play the energy onto the baby Volcanion and just power heater. I only get 1 energy off of that, but I mean, at the same time, I have a Volcanion-EX that's 1 energy away from being powered up. I have a Ho-Oh GX that's completely powered up. I have a Staryu. That way, as soon as I get Starmie, I can just continually recur energy. Like, I'm in a phenomenal spot. Now, that being said, my opponent does have a Gardevoir with 2 DCEs on it. And at this point, like, that Gardevoir is going to be terrifying. I have to take the initiative on that Gardevoir. Like, as soon as I get the opportunity, like, as soon as I get 2 Fire Energy and a Guzma, I am going to 1000% knock that thing out. Because that Gardevoir is freaking terrifying. Because, like, if I don't knock out the Gardevoir with my Ho-Oh or my Volcanion, that Gardevoir is just going to come right back in. Like, if I knock out anything but that Gardevoir is going to come in and take a knockout. If I can trade my baby Volcanion for his Octillery, with him knocking out my baby Volk with the Gardevoir, then that is incredibly ideal for me. So, okay. I have a couple plays I can make. So what I could do is, like, switch into Ho-Oh, manually retreat out. That way there's energy in the discard pile for me to have access to its Steam Up. And then I can... No, that's... I want to keep Ho-Oh completely powered up. If my opponent has Guzma, he has Guzma. But if he doesn't, then you know what? That's okay. Unfortunately, still don't draw into any energy, but I mean, at the same time, I have 8 on board. There's only 1 left in the deck. Like, there's only a single fire energy left in the deck. Otherwise, my Otherwise, they're prized. So, I end my opponent into 2 Raltses, a Diancie, and an... Oh my goodness, I end my opponent into the best possible hand. That's... Oh, that's demoralizing. And the fact that I still am not able to knock out this Octillery is causing things to go from bad to worse really quickly. And if my opponent manages to switch out into Diancie this turn and get even more set up, then that's going to be scary. Right now, I'm technically ahead, but we've gone past the point in the game where Volcanion has the advantage. Like, right now, I think I'm at a disadvantage because my opponent was able to get a Gardevoir up, he has a Diancie up, and I'm really can't do much. So I'm going to hold on to my Sycamore for later, because I want to keep the Field Blower just in case, and then let's just knock out the Octillery, get a prize, and yeah, my opponent's able to go Diancie. But, this is tricky. This is really tricky, because Infinite Force right now is going to be doing minimum 150, and then whatever, an additional whatever it has on me. So what I might do... I have the Escape Rope, which can act as a pseudo Guzma. So I might be able to take out the Ralts or something like that. And my opponent is just going to Sparkling Wish. So now my opponent is about to have 2 Gardevoir GXs set up. And this is starting to look very, very, very bad for us. So I'm going to go for the Max Elixir. I might just have to try to bait out the Gardevoir. Might just have to try to bait it out somehow, and I hit it. So what I think I'm actually gonna do, so that I have access to Steam Ups, what I think I'm gonna do is Escape Rope, because if my opponent... Okay, my opponent goes Ralts. So let's go into this Volcanion, and then Sycamore away my hand, see what I can get, if I get anything that I can work with. I get Float Stones. This is getting rough. So what I'm going to do is just retreat into this Volcanion. Okay, I have the Guzma for next turn. And because of the Guzma, I actually think I can make a pretty cheeky play if I want to. So, as long as my opponent doesn't have Fairy Garden. Because if he has Fairy Garden, or actually if he just has Guzma, then my Ho-Oh goes down, I lose my way of one-shotting a Gardevoir, and then the fact that he has 2 of them powered up will pretty much just spell the end for me. Because like if he's able to take out my Ho-Oh or my Volcanion before I'm able to take out one of his Gardevoirs, then I think that I just don't have a chance to win, because the Gardevoirs are just way too bulky, and I really don't think I'll be able to do much with it. So he does get the energy. So he just retreats into Diancie and then is gonna evolve, because if he evolves, then I actually think I'll be able to take First Blood. Well, First True Blood. I mean, wow, that's a very bad pun, but I wasn't intending for it at all. But like, I'll be able to take the first significant blood in this matchup. So what I'm gonna do is Max Elixir. Maybe I counted wrong. Actually, I might have counted wrong. Actually, no. Let's... First things first. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Let's Guzma in that Gardevoir. And then I think I have to go into my Volcanion, my powered-up Volcanion, and manually retreat. Yeah, that's what I do. I have to manually retreat into my Ho-Oh. That way I get Fire Energy in the discard pile for my Starmie to be able to Space Beacon right back out. And then I think I'm just going to get rid of Baby Volk, because, I mean, this Baby Volk is in no danger. And then, yes, this way I can get a double Steam Up, and I will be able to knock out my opponent's big, scary Gardevoir GX. So we're able to take first real blood in this matchup, and that's, I mean, that's what matters. So, okay, this is starting to look pretty... This is actually starting to get kind of complicated, because once I knock out this Gardevoir, my opponent will just go into his other Gardevoir and knock me out, and I don't have an immediate response to that. Like I'll probably just go Baby Volk and power up my Volcanion EXs. Turtonator might also come into play pretty significantly. Yeah, my opponent does just Fisherman. Okay, so at least I don't have to... Well, I mean, I guess why would I be worried about Guzma, because he is just going to knock this thing out anyway. So what I think I'm going to do is simply just take a turn to Power Heater the Gardevoir, put it in range of being knocked out by like Volcanic Heat or something to that extent. Fairy Garden comes out. That's honestly not a huge deal, to be honest. Infinite Force will knock me out. So, I mean, Ho-Oh is going to go down anyway. I'm going to promote my Float Stone Volcanion just to give myself options, like in case I draw into something completely absurd. Like, something I completely forgot about, like if somehow Blacksmith came in. I mean, just promoting a free retreat mon is never a bad thing. I'm going to slap down my 2 other Float Stones, play this energy onto this Volcanion, and then let's go ahead and Space Beacon. Yeah, I need to Space Beacon so that I can Power Heater for more damage. Let's get rid of one of the ends because I don't think that's going to help me as much, and plus I have a Sycamore in deck, so drawing into Ultra Ball or Lele gets me Sycamore. And then let's go ahead and... So let's play the Turtonator down. Because, I mean, if something gets knocked out and I need the Sycamore, then I'll just go ahead and play Lele down anyway. But Turtonator, at least this way, I have it on board for later if I need it. So let's go ahead and double Steam up, retreat into my Volcanion, or my Baby Volk, and then Power Heater, put one on Volcanion. That way it's 1 energy away from attacking, and 1 on Turt. That way I can at least Shell Trap next turn. Like, if it comes down to that, I can Shell Trap. I'm keeping the energy. I didn't put the energy on Lele because, I mean, because of Starmie, I have access to my energy with Space Beacon. Like, Space Beacon allows me to get energy out of my discard pile really whenever I need it. Well, it allows me to get 2 energy out of the discard pile, not all of it, because that'd be kind of broken. But it allows me to get 2 energy, so I will have access to be able to put the energy on Lele. And at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if I put another energy on it, it's 7. So 7 energy Lele actually lets me knock out his Gardevoir. Well, 2 energy on Lele at this point actually knocks out his Gardevoir. So my opponent actually loading up his Gardevoir to the extent that he did is going to completely play in my favor. If he had 1 less energy, I'd be in a very bad spot. But because he put that extra energy on Gardevoir, like, he did not need that extra energy. Like, well, I guess if he wanted to knock out a Volcanion. Okay, so I can see my... Actually, you know what? The more I think about it, the more I can see that my opponent might have wanted that extra energy so that he can one-shot a Volcanion EX without any energy to take a couple prizes. So you know what? I can actually see that. But because he did play that extra energy, Lele with another energy onto it, like just a 2 energy energy drive, because of the 5 energy on Gardevoir, will be able to knock it out. So I will be able to actually knock out 2 Gardevoir GXs and actually just be 1 prize away from winning this next turn. Like, I think my opponent's play is to just knock out this Volcanion because it's the closest to being able to Volcanic Heat and all that good stuff. So this is actually really coming down to the wire at this point. Yeah, Infinite Force will be able to take him 2 prizes. However, at this point, I will be able to respond with an immediate 2-prize knockout of my own with my clean Tapu Lele, which, I mean, my opponent, well, with the fact that Tapu Lele now has 210 HP, my opponent just cannot respond to that. So let's go ahead and Space Beacon, get rid of the N to grab 2 energy. That way, like, I don't draw into N, because I mean N will just get me a single card at this point, which I really don't want per se. So I'm gonna hold on to this energy for next turn. That way when I Space Beacon, I can have 3 energy in my hand, just to work on stuff later, I guess. And then here we go. So I get a Brooklet Hill and another fire energy. So I now have my entire deck's worth of fire energy to work with. Like, I have them all revealed. I have a really bad feeling that that last card is Guzma. A really, really, really bad feeling that that last card is Guzma. Because, I mean, without... Because, I mean, I have the Lele. I have an open spot. If I can knock this... If I can knock it out, then I might actually... Well, because, like... this is tricky. This is really coming down to the wire. Because, like... I saw the knockouts with the Gardevoirs. Like, I had to go through the 2 Gardevoirs. Now I just need a single prize. And I don't want to have to go through, like, a Gardevoir GX in order to be able to try to take that final prize. Because that would be... I mean, that would just kind of be the... Well, it's what he wants me to play. He wants me to play the 7-prize game in that regard. So I don't want to have to knock out a Gardevoir. I want to just knock out, like, a Diancie or the Octillery or something like that. Just something... super, super simple. That way I don't have to go through a big Gardevoir GX. And actually, I forgot that this list only has 2 Guzma, so I don't have access to my Guzma, which means that I'm going to have to find another way to get the last prize of the game. Darn Kiawe taking up a spot of one of my Guzmas. Yeah, I mean, I might actually want to run 3 Guzmas in this deck, but in my testing, like, up until this point, I've only really needed 2. Like, 2 has just been the most that I've wanted. I've been fine with 2. I haven't run into any instances where I've really, really wanted the 3rd. But this match kind of tells me that, okay, maybe I do want a 3rd and I want to drop something somewhere along the line. Definitely don't drop a fire energy, because I tried to do that early, and that just ended up being a bad idea. So what my opponent is going to do is Guzma up my Volcanion, I guess trying to weaken it, soften it up, that maybe Glade or Lele can take the knockout later in the game. Because right now, Lele is going to be able to do 70, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a good chunk of damage. But Volcanion, I am immediately going to retreat that sucker out. Like, that thing is gone. Let's see how many Guzmas my opponent's gone through. Yeah, my opponent's gone through 3. And, like, I have free retreat on it, too. So... maybe he's going for the Field Blower play to try to strand me in the active. I mean, that'd be a smart play, actually. That'd be a very smart play. But... otherwise, I think that I'm good to go. Maybe. Actually, you know what? I'm not really good to go because I don't have the knockout on board. So, what I think this turn will consist of... this is really, really tricky. Because, I mean, okay. I think my opponent is playing post-rotation too, because we don't see VS Seekers. So, we don't have to worry about that at all. Let's Brooklet Hill, see what's in my deck. Okay, a Switch, a Kiawe, a Fighting Fury Belt, and a Rescue Stretcher. That Rescue Stretcher might actually come in clutch if I need... Oh, wait, if my opponent promotes Gardevoir and knocks out my Baby Volk. So 100% I'm going for Baby Volk this turn. But if my opponent promotes Gardevoir, knocks out my Baby Volcanion, and I have enough energy on Turt, I can then Rescue Stretcher for my last Volcanion so that I can hit for 220, which with that extra 20 damage that's already on the Gardevoir will actually be a knockout. So right here, I'm just plain and simple gonna go ahead and... I think just go ahead and Power Heater. Let's put one more energy on the Lele, because this Lele, my Lele isn't in any trouble of getting knocked out at this point. Like, it's not going to get one shot unless my opponent gets an absolutely absurd turn. Like, even a DCE and an energy onto his Gardevoir will not knock me out. What I am going to do is avoid putting any energy on the Volcanion. That way he can't just Guzma into Lele once again, attach a DCE and knock me out, or attach a single energy and knock me out. He has to have a DCE if he wants to be able to knock me out. And no, I know I have Wi-Fi. I am connected to Wi-Fi. I'm connected to it on my phone. I am connected to it on multiple devices. Do not do this to me. This is such a good game. Please don't. Like, this is actually a pretty epic game. No, please no. Please do not do this. Oh, if I DC here, I will actually be so sad. Okay, my opponent went through. My opponent's N went through. Let's see, can I get something? Well, I get an Ultra Ball, which means I still have access to Space Beacon. And okay, I was really worried, because I mean, even if I ended up losing this, just the fact that this was such a ridiculously awesome match made me, like, would have made me really, really sad if it ended through a DC and, like, we didn't actually get to see it play through. Because I mean, at this point, it really is anybody's game. Like, nobody... I think I have kind of the advantage at this point. Like, I think I'm overall in a better spot, but at the same time, my opponent has a Gardevoir and a Gallade and an Octillery. Like, my opponent has a fully set up board at this point. So, I don't think either of us has the clear advantage. If I do, if my opponent... If I'm able to somehow get my Sycamore, then I can Space Beacon for an energy. Yeah, if I can somehow get my Sycamore this coming turn, it's game over. No matter what he goes into, because all I have to do is attach to Turtonator, double Steam Up, and then, like, that's going to knock out literally anything on the board at all. Like, even a Fighting Fury belted Lele would get knocked out. I mean, the only thing that could save my opponent right now, if I somehow draw into my Sycamore or my Lele, is like muscle dumbbells on his Gardevoir. And he attaches to Gallade. I win. Yeah. I win right there. I was about to say the only way he could avoid the loss is to knock out my Volcanion, like if you had Catcher or something. And I even top decked the Sycamore, so even if my opponent had gone Gardevoir, I would have been able to win by just Space Beaconing, Steam Up, attach, Rescue Stretcher, another Volcanion into my hand. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to Steam Up. I know that that's kind of overkill, but I don't know. I was like, half of me's worried that I just missed something and then maybe my attacks would do just slightly less damage with Turtonators where I wouldn't have been able to knock out the Gallade without the Steam Up. But regardless, my opponent did concede after that, as I would have been able to knock it out, and we were able to come through in easily the most epic match that I've had since Burning Shadows came out. And yeah, that was really, really awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed playing it, because that was just an incredibly epic match. So yeah, I'm ending the video right there. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.